Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're down here at the Las Vegas Federal Courthouse. I've got Kelly Stewart here with me yet. We've been sitting in court all morning. Court is over with for the day. We got finished early. We have you a few updates on the jurors that were selected today. So we officially have a seated juror. So we'll mention this a couple of times, but one thing, we do not have court on Monday. Court will resume on Tuesday, when the jurors will be given their instructions, and we'll start hopefully with opening arguments. I'll let Kelly start here with some of the interesting facts of the day.
So one thing that stood out to me today that I thought was starting us off a little bit on the wrong foot, or on the unfavorable foot with the judge, is that there was a juror number 66 that had already made up in her mind that these defendants were guilty, and she actually put that in her juror questionnaire, and she made it all the way through until this morning. And what is so unfortunate about how long they kept her is that the defense team had to use one of their 8 strikes to get rid of her. When Ryan Bundy brought up multiple times that she had already shown a bias, when the judge said she didn't feel that was the case, Ryan went and read her questionnaire, and it said, have you already made up an opinion in this case? And the answer was, yes, I believe they are guilty. But the judge said that she didn't see that that was a reason for cause to go ahead and get this juror removed. So at the end of the day, with all of the jurors seated, just keep in mind that the defense team had to use many of their strikes for jurors that really shouldn't have even still been on the case. And that kind of starts them off on uneven playing field from the prosecution, because they should have been able to reserve those strikes for people that they had a concern about, not somebody who was already saying that these defendants were guilty.
And we argued that this multiple times. It wasn't one thing that was just out of the ordinary. We argued it yesterday multiple times. Ryan Bundy and Ryan Payne's attorney both argued it, and even Philpott joined in with it. And they argued this multiple times about the bias, and even read what the juror actually stated. It's obvious in sitting in there that sometimes the bias of the judge somewhat shows over in this, and she plays for the prosecutor multiple times, and it's not fair. If one of the other jurors mentioned, for instance, that they found these guys that they didn't think they was guilty, they were stricken right away. This juror said she felt they were guilty already, that Cliven should be paying the taxes. She also worked for the Regional Journal here, and her husband did. Her son's also a correctional officer. So there was a lot of bias there. We did eventually get her removed, but the part is that we had to use a resource that we shouldn't have had to use to strike her in another type of hearing. So juror number 3 was a juror that we wanted to keep, and that's one of the reasons why this juror number 66 was so important. She should have been removed. Juror number 3 was favorable, wanted to be a part of this trial, and the judge last night gave us a choice. You can either, if you want to get rid of number 3 or number 66, then number 3 goes too. But we didn't agree to that. This morning, she called juror number 3 up first thing and removed that juror on her own because of a hardship type clause. So
that she deemed
it and got rid of that juror herself. Another juror for a hardship this morning got removed, and this juror said, this is a financial hardship that's going to destroy me if I stay on this trial, but I would love to. He said, it's like hitting the lottery. He said, I would love to be on here, but I cannot do it because it doesn't pay enough to do it, and I'm the sole provider of my home. So we lost 2 jurors right off the bat this morning when we first started. We do have 16 jurors. You want to talk about some of the different, we got a variety of different types of people that are on these jurors. We have 6 men, 6 women, and
we definitely have a concern that these aren't maybe a juror of our peers. A jury of our peers, we want people to understand ranching, land rights, Second Amendment rights, and we hope that, and we pray that these jurors will stay very open-minded to the evidence as it's provided. The difficult thing is that not all the evidence gets to be shown, right? So they don't really ever get to see what the BLM was doing, and all of the rifles and guns that were pointed at the women and children. And so that makes it very unfortunate and very difficult for to believe that these jurors are going to get to hear the whole story. I would say from an outsider's perspective, looking in, I don't feel that it's a jury of our peers. I did hear multiple people in the courtroom sharing concern as we left about the jury, because these jurors did express, in the questionnaires where they're from and discuss some of their likes and their interests. And one statement that somebody made said it seems like they just pulled all of the jurors from Las Vegas right down here in Las Vegas. So, even though that could be the case, we're just going to keep praying that the defense, that everybody takes a stand, and that the defense really gets to share their side of the story. Right now it's half and half with women. I think as far as nationalities go, it's definitely more minorities. But we're just going to pray that they give these guys the benefit of the doubt, and that they, really listen to the story and really listen to the evidence provided.
Now we have court again tomorrow. It starts again at 8:30 in the morning. We'll have court till about noon. The judge wants to have a short day tomorrow again. It will not be with the jurors there. This will be an evidential hearing and some other motions that are being heard again tomorrow. We might be in Monday, but right now it looks like there's no court on Monday at this point. The jurors will not be back until Tuesday morning, and that's when we will resume this case officially back here in the courtroom.
One thing I noticed when I was sitting there in the courtroom is that there were, remember, this is 4 defendants facing trial, and they each have their attorneys sitting next to them. As far as the presence of law enforcement, there were 13 U.S. Marshals in court today surrounding us. 3 FBI agents and 1 BLM agent, and of course they all sit in the front row or they surround the guys, but it is very intense in there. Just their very presence makes you very nervous and uncomfortable to sit in there. And when the guys move at all, I mean like just move their body from one side to the next, the marshals stand in front of them and they really do mean mug them. I mean, they are staring at them, their arms are all crossed, they're right up in their faces. And, I just don't see how they believe that this could be a fair trial when you're intimidated by the people standing around you. I also don't understand why the U.S. Marshals are allowed to hear the conversations between the defendants and their attorneys. They really don't need to stand a foot away to guarantee these men aren't going to do anything. These are nonviolent men. They didn't harm anybody at the standoff. They don't have criminal records of harming anybody. So 13 United States Marshals, and that was just in the courtroom. Keep in mind there's 2 or 3 right outside the door. There's 5 or 6 Homeland Security down here at all times during the day. So when they start throwing around numbers of how much it costs to try these individuals, you need to understand that they're intentionally keeping the budget so high that just that number in and of itself upsets the public. When they say how much money of taxpaying dollars went to try these individuals, sometimes I think the public is upset that they didn't get a guilty verdict just because of how much money was spent. And I think that is very intentional, and they are the ones raising the budget. They are the ones raising the threat level in the courtroom, and it's just completely unnecessary with who these people are.
And even the transportation. I don't know if you can hear some of the helicopters above us right now. Anytime we get done with court and they go to transport the guys, 2 to 3 helicopters start buzzing around here, scoping the area, and then close to a dozen highway patrolmen, sheriff, local law enforcement escort these guys with their lights on all the way back to Henderson at high rate speeds. They don't stop for anybody. They don't stop for red lights, stop signs. And we got a helicopter again over us right now because the transportation's about to take place here shortly. So it's a lot of expense for the taxpayers just getting these guys back and forth to court.
And it's very unnecessary expense. The 2 helicopters circle at opposite sides until the defendants are ready to leave, and then they follow them all the way to the prison. Ammon said yesterday that it was
rush hour
traffic, and that they were driving on the side of the freeway because they don't want to have to stop, and sirens are going, and it's just this big production as though they have these hardened criminals inside. And it just goes to show how the government, how the prosecution views people who speak out against them, or who are willing to stand and defend their rights and defend their families. It shows how huge of a threat that is to the government. These aren't rapists and murderers we're talking about. These are principled men who really want the Constitution upheld and want to make sure that nobody dies. That's who these men are. They want to show up and protect people who could be in harm's way, and these are the resources being spent on making them look like hardened criminals.
So I guess a couple of our last announcements again real quick is there is court tomorrow for about a half a day from 8:30 in the morning till noon. It should be over with all these motions. There's possibly we will be back in court Monday, but most likely not. It just depends on what happens tomorrow. But court will resume for sure on Tuesday morning at 8:30 in the morning. That's when the jurors will be back in the room, and that's when we will be officially starting this trial with opening arguments and stuff like that the first part of next week. Carol Bundy did message me and let me know that we're not doing anything out at the ranch on Saturday. Right now some other plans are conflicting that, so we was going to go out there and have, I think, a fundraiser and hang some flags up on the flagpoles, but we're going to cancel that for this Saturday, and we'll let you know when that gets rescheduled. But yeah, no court on Monday. The judge has made a dark day for Monday, maybe for filing and getting prepared for, I see Tara Lee asking there, for Tuesday morning. So the lawyers are wanting a little bit of time to prepare. So no court on Monday, just on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. So 3 days of court, and then that's what we know as of right now, unless something else happens. So
Lisa did a post yesterday, and she had stated that this trial is planning to go all the way through February. So if you can plan your trip accordingly and try to stagger it out and come down to support as much as you can. I know it encourages everybody when there's, even the jurors, I think, when there's people in the public watching this. For December, the whole month of December, there's only 11 days, she said, that we are going to be at trial. So they're really stretching this out and making sure they get their 10 pounds of flesh out of these guys while they're detaining them. And it's going to be a long haul, but these guys are strong and they're resilient and they believe in this system and they want to win. So please come down and support them however you can. Support their legal teams, their families to get through this time. And let's also do whatever we can if you learn of a need for the families to get here. Let's make sure that we do what we need to do to get the families here who are out of town and want to witness this trial. Even before getting ourselves here. So if you hear of any family members out of state, please message me or message John. They're struggling to get here, and we will do what we need to do to make sure that they are able to attend this trial.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Keep praying for us, like we always say. Come down here and support us if you can. There's many ways to support. So just being an observer in this courtroom, coming down here and standing with the ones out here that are flying the signs and the banners and handing out constitutions is very important. So anything like that you can do. I got a message from Lori Kramer last night. She's sending us some more of these pins that she makes, the not guilty pins. So she's going to be sending us some more of these. These come from Paula Hart, as I said yesterday. She sent us a great big box. All these things are from across the country that everybody has helped with. Is very appreciated. We can't thank everyone enough, and we forget people's names sometimes and mention it because we try to keep these live streams as short as possible. But Paula Hart made, I don't know, 100 plus, maybe a couple hundred of these. A great big box she donated down here. And then Lori Kramer is all the way from Oklahoma, and she makes them not guilty pins. So we thank both of those for what they've done and all the support.
If anybody's on this live stream and can help get a flyer put together, we had one down in Portland. I think Charlotte Signs put that one together, and it was great, and it talked about the Hammonds, the Finnecums, and the Bundys, and then on the back side it talked about the Constitution, and then it had links for people to go to, like the Bundy Ranch and Chris Ann Hall, and people who speak on land rights issues. If anybody out there has the talent and can put a flyer together and have it ready, email to me or John by Tuesday. When we're up and down the streets handing out constitutions, we're having to stop and explain to people what we're doing, and then we have nothing to give them to leave with, that they can go and research this information for themselves. So if anybody can put something together that talks about the struggles that the Bundys have had, it'd be great if you could mention the Hammonds and Lavoy Finnecum in that, because that seems very, very close to the surface of what's going on here, and then get those messaged over. If we have to tweak them, it's easiest if you send it in a PDF, but that would be really, really helpful to start getting some information out to this town like we did down in Portland last year.
Well, I guess that's all for today, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. God bless, and keep praying for us.